Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Robin. I am from Mumbai. But first, before we start anything, please close your eyes. Please put your cameras down and your pens down. All right, please close your eyes. Closed, closed, closed. Okay? And I want you to imagine for a minute that you are a 13-year-old girl in a village in India. Your father is a farmer, and he has $2,000 in debt and often talks about killing himself. Your mother is ill, and you have 5 younger siblings, and it's your job to look after those siblings. So you have never gone to school. At age 13, when your first marriage offer comes along, your family decides it's better to feed one less mouth, and they marry you off at 13. Your husband's first wife has recently passed away, and he is an alcoholic and cannot hold down a job. By the time you're 16, you have 2 children, and you are doing domestic work to support yourself and your family. And then your husband decides, you know what, you can earn a lot more money in the city, so you're going to the city to go do domestic work, and the kids are coming with you. So he introduces you to his friend, who's going to take you to Mumbai, and then you come to Mumbai, and you realize that you have been sold to a brothel, and you have your 2 kids with you. For the next 5 years, you have to sleep with 5 to 10 men every single day, and your children sleep under the bed even while you are serving customers. Please open your eyes. All right. I don't know what that noise is. I'm sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and you're basically going to, normally we do this in a space where we have room to move around, but we're just going to do raise of hands while you're sitting here, okay? So after 6 months, you have the opportunity to run away from this brothel and take your kids. So you can run away to another brothel where you will earn about $150 a day, or you can go and run away to a place where you can do domestic work, where you will earn about $100 a day. If you choose domestic work, please raise your hand. $100 a day. Okay. If you choose sex work, please raise your hand. Good. Awesome. Very small. Okay. All right. For those of you who chose domestic work, how many were those? Those are quite a few, almost everyone, right? So you're there for 3 months, and then the man who employs you basically starts abusing you and refusing to pay you unless you're sleeping with him. And you find yourself in a situation wondering, wait a second, having to sleep with the person who's paying me here and sleeping with the people who are paying me there, what is really the difference? You choose to run away from that home as well, and now again, you have the choice if you want to go to sex work or you want to continue in domestic work. Raise your hand if you are continuing with domestic work and finding another house to work in. Okay, and raise your hand if you're going back to sex work. Okay, awesome. All right, by the age of 18, you're incredibly ill. You don't know what's wrong. You go to the hospital, and your kids are ill as well. You find out that you have HIV. You get your kids tested, and you find out that one of them is also HIV positive. Now your costs for your household and your kids, healthcare, education, everything, is about $175 a month. Raise your hand if you're continuing in domestic work. Good. And raise your hand if you are changing to sex work. Many more. Wonderful. There's a lot of you who are not answering around here. Okay. Basically, after a few months of not being able to afford your expenses, because even as a sex worker, you only make $150 a month, and your expenses are about $175 for your medicine and everything. Then an NGO comes along, somebody comes to speak to you from an NGO, and they say they will house and feed and clothe and educate your girls, but that child has to live away from you for probably the next 5 to 10 years. Raise your hand if you're sending your children to the NGO. A good percent. Raise your hand if you're not sending your children to the NGO. Good, good. Okay, so I run that NGO. The name is Kranti. We work with teenage girls from Mumbai's red light areas. We have 18 girls currently, ages 12 to 21, and all of the girls are either survivors of trafficking, daughters of sex workers, or girls who have been trafficked. as well as girls who grew up, who are born and raised in Mumbai's red light areas. So our NGO, the girls come, and I think the two of you who raised your hand and said you wouldn't want to send your children, I think this is the most heartbreaking thing in the world, is watching every day when, I get to enjoy with those kids every day and their moms don't get to. Okay, I'm going to introduce Miss Shweta Katti over here, who is one of our students. She's 21 now. She's very bad at introducing herself, so I'm just going to introduce her instead. And she is actually 21 now, but she came to Kranti at 16. She now studies at Bard College in New York. She's the first girl from an Indian red light area ever to study abroad. She won a UN Youth Courage Award last year. And she is one of 4 sisters born and raised in the red light area. Her mother also has HIV. Her mom, thank goodness, works with our NGO now, so those costs and all of those things that we were discussing aren't an issue for her. This scenario that I talked about is true. It's a really common scenario that a lot of women in India face, especially the women who are trafficked to Mumbai. We have girls whose mothers were trafficked at the age of 9. And we have a lot of girls whose moms were trafficked at the age of 15, 16, that kind of thing. But that's 15, 16 is about the oldest that they were trafficked. Now I have a few questions for you. And Shweta's job is to hit you on the head with a bottle. So we're just going to, we don't have time normally when we do this activity. We do it with like everyone in the room. But we're just going to go ahead and the bottle's going to come to you. And you catch it and answer and pass it on. All right. One word about what you're feeling right now. Just one word. Pick someone.
I'm sorry.
Awesome. Pass it on. Pass. Awesome. Pass it back. Awesome. Excellent. Pass it back. Whoa. Thank you. Cool.
You can just say it. I don't think we need that bottle.
The bottle passing's not going so well. Rebecca, I needed balls. Okay, wonderful. All right, last person, hold on to the bottle. What?
Inspired.
Awesome. Hold on to the bottle. Okay, and the next question is, in one sentence, what did you just learn? It was really interesting the way that a lot of people change sides. You know what normally happens when we do this activity and we're moving around? By the end of the activity, everyone has chosen sex work, and that's when we split up into people who would send their kids to an NGO and people who would keep their kids with them. So in one sentence, what did you learn? Sorry, where did the bottle go?
He has it.
Oh, yes. Then you.
I learned that there's a variety of different opinions and emotions that are running throughout the room.
Awesome. Pass the bottle. None of this pass it on cheating, guys. Come on. Excellent. Awesome. Very good. Make a practical decision.
The pressure of surviving nobody can relate to it, but it puts everything in perspective when you're doing it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Pass the bottle. Somebody who hasn't spoken yet. Wake up.
There's hope.
Okay. Awesome.
Incredibly different life stories.
Okay. Wonderful. Last one.
If people get the opportunity, they can also reach where their dreams.
Wonderful. Hold on to the bottle. And the last question is, how did this change your view on sex work? What did you think when you walked into this room about sex workers, about red light areas, about sex workers' daughters, and what do you think now? Go ahead, pass the bottle.
The opinions are changing.
Sorry?
The opinions are changing.
Okay. Sorry, bottle was not the best idea we had.
I think it's like we always think of them like they are not into education.
Uh-huh.
They always
balls have arrived. Rock. Oh, sorry, where the bottle is. Can you stick a ball in? So we'd asked for 3 balls. Basically, this would have gone around. Depending on which color ball you grabbed, you would have had to answer that question. But we'll just go in chronological order at this point. Yes, who has the ball? Yeah.
I think there is always a hope for the best, and if the opportunity is there, we should look forward.
Awesome. What else? What about, I'm going to get a little bit controversial. Sex work. Sex workers, should they have rights? Should sex work be legal? Should, you know? It seems to be a general yes, but go ahead.
Yes, definitely. Also to answer the previous question,
Yeah.
I always thought it was like a cycle. Like once you get into that
Yeah.
sex work, and then it just continues in your children, etc. But like if there's an organization like that and more of these kind, then they can get out of that. And yes,
Awesome.
sex work is supposed to have rights and organizations like that to help them.
Awesome. Thank you. Pass. Well, wake up, people. Where did the ball go? Sorry. Yes. Thank you. One last. Pass it up here somewhere. Whoa. Never mind, Rebecca. They're not any better with the ball than they were with the bottle. Yeah, okay. Yes, for those of you who couldn't hear, she said she felt a little bit shocked by the fact that she didn't know about these issues, but now that she's looking at it, and of course that's completely okay. We can't know everything in the world, we can only know what we're exposed to, so thank you all for being here, to be exposed to this. And she's saying that it's really scary, I guess, to see how much money and resources are wasted in the West so frequently, and when kids from other backgrounds really have access, such as Shweta, then the things that they're able to accomplish. So, okay, that's it. You've won a free ball for the day. Hold on to that. Okay, and the ball has smiley faces on it, right? Awesome. Okay, so Kranti School, we spent a couple years, when these girls first came to us, we spent a couple years really experimenting what we should do with education. I, as an Indian American, grew up, and everyone thinks that Indian Americans are living the life, they're the perfect immigrants, and Indians think that you've got it made. And I grew up in a house with a lot of domestic violence, a lot of abuse. Both of my parents had mental illnesses, and by the time I was 11 or 12, I realized I was lesbian. So I have grown up in a situation where I look at these kids and I really, really understand the things that they're struggling through and the things that they're facing. So, of course, but I was very Indian in the mindset that education solves everything, right? Education is supposed to solve everything. And when I first came to India to do this work, we first started off putting the girls into formal schools, and the problems that they faced were just insurmountable. We would go to places, of course, to register them for school. Some of them have never been to school in their lives. Some of them have studied 5 different languages by the time that they're 10 years old. Some girls have really severe learning disabilities and mental health problems. We would go and enroll them in a normal, ordinary school. And at first, of course, those questions, where's the father? How come you don't know the father's name? Those questions come. And then we explain, this is what we do. These are the other kids we work with. And the principal says, wow, what amazing work you guys are doing. So we put the girls in that school. The next day, the kids come home crying that the principal, not the teachers, not the students, but the principal is calling me a whore's daughter. So this kind of went on for about a year or so, and then finally the girls' therapist had a very sit-down conversation with me and said, just imagine that at your NGO every day at Kranti, you sit these girls down and you give them 5 positive self-esteem points to love themselves, care about themselves, overcome their past, forgive everyone who's hurt them, love their moms and respect their moms. And then they go to school, and basically they're being given minus 15. 15 of those points are being taken away. So the battle that you're fighting every single day to send these kids to mainstream schools, just because you believe education is going to solve something, in the end it ends up hurting them much more. That was an aha moment for me. Absolutely, this is not where the girls belong. So then we decided we're designing our own curriculum and we're taking on our own school. So now we have the Kranti School. We have 18 girls, and they're ages 12 to 21. There's a girl who's 17 and illiterate, and there's a girl who's 17 and going on to university. There's a girl who is deaf, so we are all learning sign language. We have 12, 11 different languages in our house. So this is probably one of the biggest challenges you could ever face, but just imagine how fun it is as well. How fun this is. You need to design a curriculum where it doesn't matter what language you read or write in, or it doesn't matter if you read or write. In your curriculum, it doesn't matter if you missed a day of school because maybe you're in the mental hospital for a month and you're coming back to school. Maybe you, cut yourself or harmed yourself and then you're coming back to school. It could be anything for whatever reason that you're missing school. Maybe your mom's in jail and you want to go visit your mom and then you come back. So it shouldn't matter how many days of school you've missed. There is a deaf girl. How do you incorporate her? And basically, what is it that you're really trying to teach? So when we started designing Kranti School, we sat down and really thought about, like, what is it that we want these girls to walk away from Kranti with? And we came out with our 5 C's, the things that we think are the most important things for the kids to walk away knowing. C, communication skills. Our girls travel the world and do TED Talks and theater and all sorts of programs all over the world. And communication skills and being able to tell your story is really incredibly important. Creative thinking and problem solving, I think we can all agree to that. That's what gets us through life, right? I will just say all of my kids, all 15 of them are coming to Dubai. 12 are already here. And 3 of them are stuck because of various visa problems and immigration problems. And I'm literally on my phone right now. We've had to book some tickets, go get the visa on that ticket, cancel this ticket. There's so many things that you have to do. Don't tell anyone, this is a secret. But, we make a lot of fake birth certificates for our kids because there's nothing, we don't have anything to prove their identities. So I think that, the kids, especially living in this home, really realize creative thinking and problem solving is what's going to get you through life. Community leadership, so we talk about Kranti empowers these girls to become agents of social change. And when you first come to Kranti, people have told you your whole life, your mom is a terrible person, she does really illegal and bad work, you shouldn't talk about it, you shouldn't tell anyone where you're from, all of those things. Just because you're born there doesn't mean you're stuck there. Yes, it's our job also to go out and change people's mindsets, but you're not stuck where you're from. The goal in the end is to change people's mindsets so that they don't have to tell you that you shouldn't be from here, you shouldn't talk about this. That's the end goal. But for now, we're going to work on community leadership, and you are a leader of your community. Just because you were a victim doesn't mean you are forever. How do we change things? So we have an entire social justice curriculum that we work with, basically looking at caste, class, religion, environment, every different social justice issue that affects India these days. Critical analysis. Everyone can agree to this one, right? Basically, all these issues that happen in India or all over the world, how do they affect you and how did they come to be? One of the favorite topics I think for the kids in school right now is the refugee crisis. And these things really resonate with them because so many of their mothers are migrants either within India or they've come from Bangladesh, been trafficked from Bangladesh or Nepal or whatever, and it's something that is very, very connected to them. And the last thing, for those of you who are writing and taking notes, please star this. Compassion. So to us, basically, when we think about the purpose of education, I am just curious. Three or four answers real quick. What is the purpose of education? I'm not going to throw the ball for this one because maybe people need time to think. But just if you have it on top of your head, please share. Awesome. Cool. Awesome.
Inspire others for positive change.
Wonderful.
To be a human being.
Wonderful. Yes. Okay, wonderful. I think if you tie all of those together, I think they can all fit under one umbrella that is a very important umbrella to me, and that is happiness. I think that everything that we talk about, or everything that you do, why do you hang out with your friends? Because it makes you happy. Why are you pursuing your dreams? Because it makes you happy. Then there's a lot of problems, right? We sometimes start to think that maybe a car is going to make us happy, or an iPhone is going to make us happy, right? So a lot of people think, well, what is the purpose of education? In India, this is one of the biggest things that you're taught. What is the purpose of education? So you can go get a job. Why do you need a job? So that you can have a nice house. Why do you need a nice house? So that you can have a nice car. Why do you need a nice car? So you can have a nice whatever. And supposedly those things lead to happiness. But we all know plenty of people who are rich and or famous, have everything in the world, and are depressed, right? So I encourage my kids to just find that one thing that makes them happy and go pursue it. It doesn't even have to be one thing, maybe it's 10 things. But go find things that, that make you happy. And now, I know it sounds really selfish, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like a community leader or community change agent, right? To go pursue your own happiness. But let me ask you this. Who was the last depressed person who put a smile on your face? No one, right? It's only happy people who can spread happiness in the world. That's it. So real quick, I'm just going to give a couple examples of some of our girls. Obviously, Shweta is one of them. We have another girl named Sheetal who is 21, and she came to Kranti at age 17. And she is really important to me because she really, really changed, completely transformed my thinking on education. So this poor girl comes to us at 17. She's studied 4th and 7th, and that's it. We said, okay, we're going to try to get you to pass 10th or 12th, and we're going to put you into formal education. We tried and we tried and we tried, and every day for a year. And I feel so guilty about it now that we put this girl through this. Every day for a year, she came home and cried. Every day. And we just said, too bad you have to do it, too bad you have to do it. And on the side, so all of our girls are required to have 2 extracurricular activities. One has to be physical, dance, swimming, yoga, something like that, and one has to be creative. So it can be an instrument or it can be photography, drawing, whatever. So Sheetal's been playing drums for like 4 years, and she would come home from drum class every day, and she would sit on the floor and bang with her sticks for 3 hours with the biggest smile on her face. Annoy the crap out of all of us, and we would just tell her to shut up all the time. But finally, we decided, you know what? If this is causing tears, let's put it aside for a little while. And if this is causing you happiness, let's pursue it for a while. So we applied to music schools all over India. Nobody would accept her because she hadn't passed 10th. She didn't have formal education. She didn't speak English well enough. She wasn't from a high enough class. And then we applied to 2 places in the UK and 2 in the US, and all of them accepted her. She got a 9-month scholarship to a program in Washington where she spent 9 months studying music, and now she's back in India, and she basically does music therapy using the djembe and working with also children of sex workers, children of migrant laborers, in Teach for India classrooms, all sorts of marginalized communities. But the most important thing is, I don't know why on earth I didn't think to bring a photo of this, is the smile on Sheetal's face when she drums and when she works with those kids. And now I'm kind of at this moment of like the fun that she has. And she also, by the way, she works with an organization that does programs also for corporates. And so they charge, $1,000 to $2,000 for a 1-weekend session. And Sheetal's slowly getting trained to be able to do that as well. So that will be her income, but she's able to pursue like her passion. And that to me is the perfect story of, I guess we didn't actually need that 10th or 12th certificate, did we? So she has since passed 12th. She did manage somehow, I don't know how, but she has managed. But to me, Sheetal's story was just one of those things. When I see the smile on her face when she drums, that to me is about seeking and spreading happiness, right? I guess we also, so Kranti school happens for 4 hours a day from 8 o'clock until about 12 o'clock. That's in our house with all the girls. And basically what we've done with this curriculum to incorporate compassion and communication and critical analysis and all of these things is that we work on a very project-based curriculum. So the first hour of every day of school is taken up with 20 minutes of yoga, 20 minutes meditation, 20 minutes journal and gratitude writing. And then the next hour is taken up with creative thinking activities, logic puzzles, because we actually don't have math and we don't teach math, but we thought about what is the reason for teaching math. It's not so that you can use algebra in your everyday life because I studied differential equations, I've never seen it again in my life. It's to teach logic, right? It's to teach logic. So we use logic puzzles and games, and these kids love like Sudoku and cryptograms and all of that kind of stuff. And then we spend 20 minutes just on the news every day, Reuters Day in photos, going through those photos and looking at what's going on anywhere in the world. And the kids also really love like just sitting there and guessing, oh, that person looks like they're from China, that person looks like, oh, I remember reading about this in Turkey, maybe this person's, all of those kind of things. And that really works on the geography skills. After that, every day is a different theme. So we have Music Mondays, TED Talk Tuesdays, Worldly Wednesdays, Thinking Thursdays, and Field Trip Fridays. So some of you are looking at me like, what? Okay. So every Friday, the girls go out for a field trip. Sometimes it's to meditation workshops. Sometimes it's to film festivals. Sometimes it's to see movies, to go to a museum, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's to volunteer at an NGO. All of our girls are required to pick an NGO that they want to volunteer at. Some of them teach art, some of them work with animals, that kind of thing. And every day just has a different theme. On Thursdays, Rebecca once asked me, like, how do you possibly, how many hours do you teach and how do you possibly get through all of this? Thursdays, we have a guest speaker, basically, who comes every Thursday and does something. It can be anything. And this is the great thing about Thinking Thursdays. We can just toss anything in there, So one week we'll have somebody who comes with the djembe and does like dance movement therapy with the girls. Sometimes we have people who come in to do science experiments with the kids. Sometimes people do come to speak about what their career is, and it's really awesome. We've tried to create this system where Thursday somebody will come in and speak about being a journalist and what it's like, and then Friday for the field trip we will go out to see what that person does. So quite a variety of things, but we've really found, of course, some girls are really talented at some things, and some girls are really struggling with a lot of different challenges. We have a lot of girls who have learning disabilities, who have cutting habits, and things like that. But in the end, I think when people ask me about success and about successful girls and successful stories, yes, I share Shweta's and Sheetal's situation, but I also really like to share that we have plenty of girls who come to us who are addicted, who are depressed, who have are showing early signs of borderline personality disorder or schizophrenia, and who are on medication. I always share this story of one time when it had been a really exhausting couple of months teaching, and I wasn't able to break away from I live with the kids, so we all live together in this house, and I wasn't able to break away. So one of my friends calls me and says, hey, I'm come down to the Bay in Mumbai, and I'm gonna feed you pizza. So I went happily, and we ordered pizza, and there it is on the table, and the phone rings, and somebody goes, Syra is cutting herself, and so Pinky beat her up in order to get her to stop cutting herself, so now she's holding the blade and threatening Sumaya, and Sandhya's passed out on the floor, and blah, 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 and I was like, I'm eating pizza right now. It was just one of those moments of really thinking about what is the purpose of education? What if education is not leading to more and more happiness and a healthier and healthier life, then what is the point of it? What is the point? So we do have a lot of kids who struggle with these things, and sometimes it's a really big success story when one girl doesn't cut herself or come home drunk or go out and, a lot of them have sexual behavior issues as well, and it's really, sometimes the best success story is that she didn't cut herself for a year, or sometimes that she's still alive, And the harder we work towards happiness, and I think this is what we're all striving for in our life, absolutely every one of us. And this is something you'll see, all my girls are coming, like I said, you'll see them tomorrow here, and when you look at them and when you look at yourself, one thing that you all have in common is that we're all just striving for happiness, right? We have different things that bring us happiness, but in the end, I think the purpose of life for everyone is to seek and spread happiness to everyone that you possibly meet. So when you meet my kids, please keep that in mind. You're no different from them. They are people seeking happiness, and you are people seeking happiness. So with that, I conclude. We have 2 minutes for questions. Sorry I spoke so fast. Thank you. So Shweta is my assistant. I just keep dragging her around a lot, and she complains because I don't pay her. Sometimes I feed her a coffee.
If
and
you know anyone who works for police or child rights, please complain. She doesn't pay me, and she gets all the work done.
And she's 21, so you can't call any child rights lines anyway, okay?
Well, I look young, so that's fine.
Okay, cool. So, sorry, we have 1 minute and 15 seconds now. Any questions for me, for Shweta? Please feel free to ask Shweta. I think that, sometimes the really amazing thing about the work that we do is preparing these girls to speak for themselves. How often do you go out? The girls prepared a play last year that was 1 hour long, and it was basically about their lives growing up in the brothels, the discrimination they faced. By the way, that whole story about sleeping under the beds while your mom is serving customers, all of our kids have grown up like that. And when you see them tomorrow, keep this in mind. All of our kids have grown up like that. So basically, we traveled the US for 6 weeks with that play, and did about 40, 50 performances all over the country. But I think the most amazing thing was every single person at those plays would come and say, we see plays, we see movies about trafficking, about sex work. It's never the people who have gone through these experiences who are actually sharing. It's always an actress or a famous person, right? So here she is in front of you. Please feel free to ask any questions to her as well. Yes?
How are you funded?
Oh God, there's not enough funding at all. So we joke about this all the time, right? There were these journalists over at our house the other day asking, what will you do with $1 million if you win? And I was like, I can't afford my lunch right now, There's a lot of those moments because we are an NGO and school is just one part of it.
So how do people find out so they can contribute to your organization?
You can donate online. That's one of the things. So we do have a couple small grants which come from women's and girls organizations, and then we do a lot of crowdfunding. Our school is freaking run on crowdfunding
Capacity.
for kids.
How many can
So our house, we live in a 10-foot by 70-foot, what used to be a factory, and we have 3 floors, and the kids have 1 floor, the staff have 1 floor, and the classroom is 1 floor.
And how many kids go unserved?
Thousands. So the dream is that eventually we want to start a school where, of course, we only work with girls, and we want to be able to work with girls and boys. Kamatipura is 1 red light area in Mumbai. There's 7 or 8 really big ones, and we want to be able to work with kids. He's shutting me up already. Okay, we want to be able to work with kids from lots of different, red light areas and also marginalized youth all across the country. So,
How do you spell the name of your school?
Kranti, can you put that? You can Google. Sorry, one more question, one last. Oh, bhaiya, yeah. Sorry. Yes, sir, in the back. No. Yeah. Shit happens. I've been to jail. I've been beaten up by the police. Stuff happens, right? But that's just part of life. It's okay. No, nothing that I'm concerned about. You know what? As long as you have your vision in mind and you keep going at it, the peripheral stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who comes to beat you up. It doesn't matter who busts into your house at midnight. It doesn't matter who's fighting against you. So, okay. All right, thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Like I said, my kids will be around. Honestly, feel free to ask them absolutely anything. Wait, hold it right there. Shweta's going to be at the back, and believe it or not, we're handing you out homework. Okay, so basically it's just a worksheet that's reflecting on, we did this 2 months ago with our kids for New Year's, but it's basically reflecting on things like, things you're grateful for, what was really awesome about last year, what are your plans for, how can you make 3 people happy? How can you, who are people who have done things for you, and just taking time to appreciate that. So please collect that on your way out, and yes? It's on the back, So please collect that from her when you're on your way out, and thank you for coming. Thank you.